1996 gubernatorial candidate, Republican candidate, former chair of the New Hampshire State Board of Education, strong conservative voice here in New Hampshire, Ovide Lamontagne.
Good afternoon. It's great to see you all here this afternoon. Don't you have anything else better to do but to make a difference in New Hampshire and America? Great to see you here. I want to thank, first of all, the STEWARD organization and the fine team that Fred Tausch has assembled to make a difference now. And my theme for this afternoon, a few minutes that I have, is don't wait. Don't wait. And I thank God that Fred Tausch has become a citizen of New Hampshire, a resident of New Hampshire, and has put his money where his mouth is by supporting and organizing this organization and doing work today to help us win in 2010 and to make a difference today. Just last week, the Union Leader published a pretty detailed story about an analysis that STEWARD authorized and paid for by economists looking at the impact of Obamacare on small businesses in New Hampshire. My friends, now is the time to educate each other. Now is the time to invite people to our cause, because now is the time to mobilize and educate and oppose what's happening in Washington so we can make fundamental change in 2010. I'm a fourth-generation New Hampshire native, both sides of the family. And my family, like many of yours, our ancestors fought hard as farmers, mill workers, and dentists to leave a better world for the next generation, for us and our children. And I'd just like to ask for a quick survey, by a show of hands. How many of you want to leave for your children and your grandchildren a better world than you have today? How many of you? Now, how many of you think, given the direction that Washington is taking us, believe that we are in fact leaving the world a better place for our children and our grandchildren? Let the record reflect not one hand went up. And not one hand went up because we know fundamentally Washington is broken. Washington is spending this year a record deficit of $1.4 trillion, which was established, verified by the President's own Office of Management and Budget. That's a 209% increase in our deficit. That's a 20% increase in spending over the last year. Let's put that in context. The national debt is approaching, well, $11.4 trillion. One of the indicators that the world looks at to determine monetary policy and currency is the ratio between debt and gross domestic product. The United States today has a debt to GDP ratio of 90%. If you wanted to become a member of the European Union, you know what your ratio would have to be? 60% or less. I'm not advocating that America join the European Union. I'm just saying we are falling way short on our commitment to our own people about fiscal integrity and responsibility. And the way we're going right now, in 2011, our debt to GDP ratio will be 100% and growing. If you look across our country, household indebtedness compared to net disposable income is 120%. Who's paying for this debt? It's not going to be us. It's going to be our children and our grandchildren. It's going to be foreign investors coming into the United States. There is a crisis that we need to respond to. And it's a spending crisis, in Washington. This is the time to look potential candidates in the eye, to invite friends and neighbors to support everyone to pull in one direction, and that is to say, enough spending in Washington. Let's balance our budget. And as a candidate, potential candidate, and if I were the U.S. Senator from New Hampshire, I would work to take concrete steps to bring us in line with our spending needs and our ability to support that spending. First, by repealing the stimulus package, which is nothing more than pork barrel spending, projected to spend money. Secondly is to work on a real balanced budget in Washington. That means zero-based budget. And Doug Scanlon will tell you better than anyone in New Hampshire what that means. Zero-based budgeting means there are no sacred cows. Everything is on the table, and every department, every program needs to establish its own merits, and we need to make a decision as to whether we can continue to support it. We need to work to have a balanced budget. But more than that, we also need to support institutional change because, you know, we've seen so many problems develop over the years that have not been corrected. Politicians tell us they're going to work for a balanced budget, but they don't. So like New Hampshire, our federal constitution should be amended to have a balanced budget amendment.
Yes.
Because we know that taxes are a function of spending, and there's a disconnect in Washington. They spend whatever they want, and they don't care, and they're creating these huge deficits. We also need to look at term limits for the U.S. Senate and the House. This is a representative government. 2 terms in the Senate is 12 years, 6 terms in the House, 12 years. That's enough time in Washington. If you're not disoriented by that time, there's something wrong with you. It's time to come back home and let other people serve. This is a representative Republican democracy we have, which means people, you and I, our friends and neighbors, are all eligible to serve and represent the people of this state and of this country. So we need to look at fundamental change in what we do in Washington. We can't just sit back and say we're going to try to do what we want to do, but not commit to specific programs and actions. People have said to me, Ovid, why are you doing this? You're a successful lawyer, you're an empty nester. Half the people can't pronounce your name. That is true. All those things are true. So my job is, first of all, name pronunciation. And if you're interested in what I'm doing, what I'm about, because I think fundamentally we need to step up to the plate as citizens if we think we can make a difference. I think I can make a difference. I'm an independent Republican. I stand on the Republican platform, and I'm proud of it. I want to be somebody who's accountable to the people of New Hampshire. I want to come back and work for you. While you're my eyes and ears here in New Hampshire, I want to be a voice for you in the United States Senate and work in conjunction with you. That's the kind of U.S. Senator I would want to be. One that's connected to the people who I represent in the state where I was born and I will be buried, proudly so. I have granite in my veins, and I'll take that granite with me to Washington, given the chance. So the name is Ovide Lamontagne. If you're interested in learning more about us, we have a website called discoverovide.com. That's O-V-I-D-E, discoverovide.com. That is a fledgling website for an exploratory committee, or a testing the waters committee. If you sign up, I guarantee you this, you'll be the first to know when that committee is activated to a different type of committee. God bless you, God bless America, and let's work and let's not wait. Let's do it today.